Really enjoyed your talk. So it's difficult. I'm not so, I'm going to try to act and move around a bit as well. If I go behind there, you won't see me anyway. Yeah, have a break. Yeah, just start breathing. The other thing is, of course, it's 30 years ago, you were not born, where I was sitting, not in this very room, because this didn't exist, more in the amphitheater, where the first year BBA are coming this year. But I graduated from this school in 1987. It was called EPSI, École des Praticiens du Commerce International. And the reason why I chose that school is because I wanted to travel. And I suppose what I'm going to try and tell you today is how I got where I got today, a little bit of a Tomtom and the entrepreneurial journey. And maybe, if I may, I don't want to lecture, but because I'm 30 years ahead of you, I built a little bit of experience, and because I recruit people, I run a company, so we recruited 900 people last year, and a lot of young people, maybe some tips and tricks that you may find useful. And if you don't, then don't listen. When I left, so at your age, why did I do business school? Probably the same reason why you're doing one. Your parents, your family say, look, I know you want to do a lot of things, but this is good for you. You're going to do business, you're going to find a job later, and it opens a lot of opportunities. Trust me. That's what your parents are telling you. And you say, okay. And everybody's telling you, you need your passion, you need to know what you're going to do. And you're all sitting here and saying, I don't have a clue what I want to do. I don't know. I don't even know what type of job they are about. It's normal. It's completely normal. When I was your age, I had no idea. The only thing I knew is I wanted to travel. So I went to EPSI. I did the first university in Berlin, and then I went back to, and I went to London. So I did two different universities. I suppose you have the same thing as an exchange. And I did my stage for a company called Infogram that was in the games industry, and they sent me to London. While someone was supposed to look for me in London and pick me up from the airport. The guy turned up, and I was supposed to stay with him. I didn't know anyone, and that was before high-speed trains and all of that, So it was quite a long way to go. And I arrived in Oxford Street. He had a meeting. He leaves me there. I don't speak English very well. I just come out of Germany. And I walk down Oxford Street. I wait for him. He takes me home, and he said to his wife, that's the young French girl that's going to stay with us for the next few weeks. She says that she's out tomorrow. And I said, right. So I better go and try and find a place to stay. And so I went to the Yellow Pages, that was before internet, and I got myself a little flat and starting my job. I went the first day working for Infogram as a stage. And from there I went to a company called Scion. And Scion was probably you call that a super startup today. They were the first company making personal digital assistant. If you're just about old enough, you might remember Palm Pilot and Windows PC, and they were making PDAs. And I was super lucky. I went there in my broken English, and the suit that I bought, it was 3 sizes too big, and sat there in reception. Someone picked me up, and I had the interview, and I managed to convince him, there was a guy, that I would be perfect for the job. So, and he took me on as a marketing assistant, export marketing assistant. After a week, I was bored. I said, I want to do more. That's the thing. Get yourself, don't dare to ask if you go somewhere. And anyway, to cut a long story short, 3 months later, I'm on my first business trip to Casablanca. And I arrived in Casablanca. I was attending a big trade fair with representing Scion product, our computers. My plane arrived late, and I arrived at the hotel. The distributor had booked me in the Hyatt Regency in Casablanca, overlooking the sea. They'd given my room away. They said, don't worry, we have a suite. I didn't even know freaking suite existed. So I go into the room, and here I am sitting. I'm 22 years old, and I've got this amazing room, and I thought, I've arrived. This is it. This is the life. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And from there, I went on to travel and to develop international business for Scion. I spent 5 years developing all the international sales, and I went into, so I started, they give me the Bassin Méditerranéen to start up with, so Morocco, Israel, Turkey, the back street of Tel Aviv to find a distributor. I tell you, before mobile phones, it was quite scary, but I did it, and I traveled a lot on my own and set up distribution. And in the end, when I left Scion, I was in charge of international sales for that company. And then love came calling, as you do, you know, that also happens when you're in your 20s. You do fall in love at some point. And that took me over to Holland. Yeah, actually married my customer. It's just, it's a bit, so Dutch distributor. So anyway, I arrived there, but I said, look, you know, he said, well, come over to Holland, I'll look after you. I said, there's one rule, is I'm never going to have anybody looking after me. I'll look after myself. So it's just advice for the girls. So I said, you know what? So I'll come over to Holland, but I need to find a job first. And even so, I'd been in tech for 6 years. I mean, it was amazing what I did at Scion, to be honest. I was developing the distribution network in Eastern Europe when all the countries were getting democratic, and having our computers counting the first democratic election in Hungary, and you're there in the middle of everything. They used to call me Corinne Baba, baby Corinne, because I was, you know, I was still the same size, and very young. I normally had bright pink suits. I don't know why. It was probably fashionable in the early 90s. And witnessing all those changes in the making, and working for a company, for a product I loved, was just amazing. And the more they gave me, the more I took, and I happened to be quite good at selling, so they were happy with me, and so that was amazing. So tech was in. I really liked it. I liked the speed. I liked everything that went with it. But something in the back of my mind, I said, well, when I was at EPSI, I wanted to go into FMCG. You know, I wanted, work for one of those companies with big names. And so why don't I try that now? So I moved over to Holland, and I found a job for a company that's called Campina Melkunie. Campina Melkunie was the biggest dairy company in Holland, and also the equivalent of Bongrain, if you want, one of those big company, big brand. And they put me on the executive board, which was quite amazing. I was the only woman, the only young one, and I didn't speak Dutch. So what I did is I went to spend the summer learning Dutch, and I arrived at Campina, and I was, in FMCG, and oh damn, it was so boring. I realized that I missed tech so much. So I was with brilliant minds, brilliant marketeers. They were looking after me. I was traveling. I was responsible for Eastern Europe, Russia, Greece, Nordics, and France, of course. And the best time of that experience was actually going to Rungis. I recommend that. 4 o'clock at Rungis, people eating steaks instead of coffee and croissant at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was really some of the nicest thing I'd done there. But I really miss the energy, I miss the adrenaline, I miss the fact that in tech, you're in front of the train. You are making history, you are innovating all the time. Your company goes triple-digit growth or triple-digit decrease, but anyway, something's always happening. And I found that wasn't for me, the FMCG. So I left that and joined two engineers. And we started what is to become Tomtom. We started with 3 people. We will celebrate our 25th year next year. And we were a software publisher for the B2B industry. I decided that B2B was a bit boring. I wanted to create a brand and do B2C. So, and I started basically making CD-ROMs, and with the developers, we made product for handheld computers. So if I fast forward, we were very small for about 10 years. I'd created the brand, I'd opened distribution all across Europe, and we were called Palmtop Software at the time, which is a bit of a mouthful. And in the softwares we were developing, we also did navigation. There was mid-90s. Memory was expensive. So it's memory size. I mean, today you kind of, if you don't have 16 gigabytes on your iPhone, you kind of start crying. Well, when I started my career, 64 kilobytes was kind of the cool thing. And maps, we had probably 500K, so you can put just about center of Paris. So we evolved so we did software, and we were partnering with some of the PDS, so we had software and the hardware, we had the two together, but we thought there must be a better way to do this. We could see that digital navigation was important, with digital maps. I mean, you can't even think yourself. Imagine a world without Google Maps or without any maps. Digitalization is of maps and going to location digitally is part of your DNA. It didn't exist at the time. You had very expensive systems in cars, and that was the only way to do it. And they were not working that well. So we thought, well, the brief was, why don't we develop a product that you can buy in Fnac, you put it on your windscreen, and you drive home? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, kind of, we thought it was cool. But I can tell you that out there, people thought we were absolutely barking crazy. And I remember CeBIT 2004, and I've been very proud, and we had all the journalists, and we were unveiling our first all-in-one product, our first sat-nav, our first navigation system. And people looked at us and said, "You're crazy. It's obvious. It's never gonna work. Because who is gonna buy a product for 800 euro at the time where you can buy software on your PDA? And of course, it's gonna come in the car." Companies get Philips, had everything. They had the brand, the distribution, they had the navigation, they put navigation in the car. They thought this could never happen. Everybody thought we were completely crazy. We launched this first product. We had ODM it we had to find partner in China for manufacturing. We thought we would probably sell about 100 to 200,000 units for the year. We were sold out after 3 months, and the rest is history. So the company went from 42 million to 1.8 billion in 5 years. We went from 20 people when we launched that product to 3,500 people also in 5 years. So it was just absolutely crazy. So just you put your head down. And also you think, well, am I going to be able to do this, to run a big company like this? So I always said, look, gets to 50 people, I'm out, because I'm an entrepreneur. I think I don't have the skill sets. We always look at the stuff we don't have. We always look at the thing we can't do. And then 50 arrive, and I say, well, I'm just doing okay there. I'm not too bad at it. So 100 I go. And then anyway, the rest, you keep going, you keep looking at what really motivates you, the stuff that you like doing. You surround yourself with good people, you build a team, and you keep going. So anyway, in 2000, so we're selling 200,000 units the first 6 months, and the second year we keep going. And then we were selling 1 million units in 1 year. And then we sold 1 million units in 1 month, in 1 week. And in 2008, in the US, we were selling 1 million units in 1 day. So people saying, this is never going to work? I'm like, Bridget, it really gets me going, Just tell me you can't do it, and I tell you that's where I get going. Sometimes it's foolish, arguably, but it gives you that motivation. Don't ever let anyone, you cannot do something, because you're the only one who knows what you can do and what you can't. Nobody else can tell you that. But anyway, so 2008, so I can be proud until now, because we're doing really well. 2008, wow. Crisis, even you must be remembering that. So that's one. People had bought an awful lot of navigation devices, so we're reaching a point of saturation when everybody kind of got one. We just bought our Mapmaker Teleatlas for 3 billion, so we kind of slightly leveraged. Oh, and Google decides to give navigation for free. What a good idea when your living is selling navigation. So it starts to get a bit tricky. Anyway, roll up our sleeves, and what I'm pleased today is that a few years later, we are going back to growth. So what did we do? Well, we kept investing in technology. What you probably don't know is actually Tomtom is one of the 3 map makers in the world. You've got Google, Nokia, and us. We are the biggest in, well, we license our maps to Apple, for example. We're also the biggest in developing new technology for autonomous driving. You will see that. You will one day be living in a world where you're not going to need to drive your cars. They'll be driven for you. Apparently, that's fun. My generation is when the first thing we did is have a driving license, buy a car, and get a checkbook. But I can see that now it's not so important, and it's all about the economy, car sharing, and it also answers a big problem of congestion. Of course, if you look, going in most countries, congestion is a massive issue, and this is the next big disruptive technology to come. Is going to be driverless, so autonomous driving. For that, you need very precise map that update in real time, and that's something we've been investing for a very long time, and we're very ahead in that technology. We're one of the biggest supplier of traffic information, extremely innovative, where we use very special technologies to make it very scalable. So I think that the key is when you're an innovator and an entrepreneur, you always need to keep an eye on the big radical stuff you want to change. There is always something, a big problem you want to solve. And in our case, was to reduce traffic congestion and just get people to the destination the fastest, and I think we've done that very well. We also have a telematics company, and we're also big on the automotive, on the B2B side now. We are partnering and supply most of the automotive software or service. The bit I run is the fun bit, is the one with Billy the Goat. So we're still very big on sat-nav. Actually, contrary to what people think, it's a very big industry. We make about 500 million euro just on sat-nav. We also launched an action cam, much better than GoPro, guys. Really, I tell you, seriously, we really. Yeah, he says no. Yeah, I tell you, it's much better than GoPro. Why? Why am I saying that? It's because we are solving one of the problems. So the reason why we think that. You never do technology for technology's sake. You look at what the pain points are, the problems are, and then you bring a product out. And what we felt is people couldn't share their videos quickly with our product. You can just have a day skiing, and when you're in the pub, we will do an automatic edit of your film and post it. Anyway, so we think it's well, and we're also doing sports watches. We just launched a product yesterday with inbuilt music and all sorts of things. Anyway, so we keep going. The company is, we're listed in Amsterdam. Our head office is in Amsterdam. We're present in 30 countries, and we have now 5,000 people. And we are actually the only consumer electronics brand to have come out of Europe in the last 15 years. Which in itself is probably not a good thing. There's a lot of companies, a lot of our competitors are American and Asian, and I am always lamenting on the fact that European tech is not where it should be. Okay, so that's for the story. The reason I tell you the story is maybe to also tell you that it gives me a little bit legitimacy to give you, not advice, I don't like that word, but maybe tips. If I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, I mean, nothing more special than you have. In the same studies, there is nothing. So how did I get where I got? Well, first of all, talking about transformation, you're very different today than you're going to be in 10 years' time. Trust me. But you'll only be very different if you explore. And I know we're all very formatted that, we need to do it this way and we need to have the right job because otherwise if we get it the first year of a career wrong, it's going to be the end of the world. That's not true. You have nothing to lose. The next 10 years is when you're going to explore and find out what you really like. There's a few things. The jobs that are in companies, most of them, you actually don't know them. But with the background, education you have, you can go in operation, HR, marketing, sales, legal. You can go in a lot of different areas. And within those, digital marketing, social media. And within those, you still have a lot of different jobs that you don't know. And the other news is those jobs will change as well. So you need to find out when you go for stage, be curious. Have a look around and try to find what makes you tick. What is the stuff, when you've done a week, what is the thing you've enjoyed the most? Was it the marketing side? Was it the people side? The management side? Management is also a big thing. It's very difficult. The organization side. Try and find out. Be curious and try and find out what makes you tick. Then find an industry that you have affinity with. And again, it could be like me, I always thought I wanted to go FMCG because I didn't know what it was. I don't know what FMCG is. You just read it in the books. Try a stage in different areas. Go into energy, transport, telecom. And of course, I will say tech because I think tech is the future. And I think tech is one of the most interesting areas because you are really making history. I always say you're in the front of the train. You're always making new things. You're breaking grounds. You're trying and you're putting yourself out your comfort zone. You're taking risk in tech, and I like that. But it's not for, it depends what makes you tick. So look at the jobs, look at the industry, but more importantly, when you apply for a job, it's all about the culture. Are you someone who will operate better in a big organization, in an entrepreneurial organization, in a non-profit organization? Have a look of companies that reflects your own values, that really you can get passionate about what you do. I think it's very, very important. And enjoy the people you're going to work with. People never leave companies. They leave their manager. They leave the people they work with. That's really important. You always work with a team, you get your energy, and you work. The people you work with are very important. So that's the other thing I would say. So explore, go abroad. And I know I've spoken to some of you, it's now or never. You have got nothing to lose. Take risk. Go out and explore. I think I would go to Asia a little bit. I would go to the US a little bit. All companies, all brands today are global. You're going to work with teams that are global. And I hope you've seen today how much richer it is to work with different cultures. In our head office in Amsterdam, we have 42 different cultures, 42 different nationalities. All are working in teams of different nationalities. Much better for creativity, much better for output. So I think it's very important. Believe in yourself. And I think if you put yourself out your comfort zone now, you believe in yourself, you will build what's super important, that's called confidence. Recruiters today, we are looking at competence, but we are mainly looking at potential and at confidence. We want people who will be able to follow their passion, do what they like. So when I recruit someone, I don't ask them what can you do, and I say, what do you love doing? And people who have been working already, who've had a few years employment, I say, well, when you go home and you tell your partner that you've had a good day, what does a good day look like? What have you done that really makes you tick? Because if you're going to have to work for a very long time. And the state of the economy probably even longer than it's on the books today. And it's very important that you do something that you're really passionate about. All the people you've seen this week, they are all very different. There's one thing that we all have in common, is we love what we do. And what Bridget was saying, when you can do something you love, and on top of that, you get paid for it, that's the ultimate success. And I think that companies want that. And doing what you love could be anything. Just find something that you enjoy doing. That work-life balance business, always a bit of a funny notion. Life and work doesn't stop at 6 o'clock on the Friday. If you try to find something that makes you tick, that you really enjoy, that you feel engaged, that you work with people, that you can't wait to go to work on the Monday morning, that's the sort of stuff you should be looking for. And you in this room, you can do that. You have a privilege of education. You have the privilege of being exposed to the rest of the world. You've met amazing people. You will meet more and more amazing people throughout your career. Get inspiration from them. Follow your true sense and go for it. So I will leave you with a quote because apparently you do that sometimes. I've put my iPad somewhere there. Because it's a quote I really like. But also, and then I'll ask for if you have questions. But the key is, put yourself at your comfort zone, and please do that. Don't hesitate. You've got nothing to lose. They're not going to fire you, but at least you're going to find out what you truly enjoy and you really like, and that's very, very important. So do that. And for the girls, keep working. It's fun. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. They're slightly younger than you, just about 20 and 19. I get on well with them. I worked all my life. He didn't even take maternity leave. I don't recommend that. You need to take a break. But it's very important that you keep going and that you do something really for yourself. And now that my kids are living home as well, going to university like you, I realize that there is a lot of satisfaction by having worked and by meeting amazing people, by getting a phone call from Xavier to say, hey, come and tell your story. This is nice. I'm meeting interesting people like you guys. So keep going. So I'll leave you with that last quote, which you may have heard before, I don't know. But it's the same line as Bridget. So here's to the crazy one, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, you can disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. The only thing you can do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy one, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Go change the world.
Thank you. What was the hardest part of your career?
The highest or the lowest?
The hardest.
The hardest?
Yeah.
Well, I think to be honest, the beginning was kind of you keep building, and so things you're in the motion. I think what is really difficult is when things start going bad, when your turnover goes down, and the motivating of your team, and you have to let people go, and so there are moments where you have to start dealing with what you build with a lot of hard work is kind of starting going downhill. And that's really difficult, because you need, certainly as an entrepreneur, to find the resilience and the courage and the drive to keep going. And that was really, that was brutal. I always say that the last few years have been very brutal. But I'm very pleased that we have a good team at the top of the founders, and you always do this as a team. It's very difficult to do this on your own. And so it's nice because it's paying off. What we've done, we're now going back into growth. We're now recruiting. We recruited 900 people last year, so that was good. But that phase, the last 6 years were really hard. So it's been a long time.
My question basically is, you mentioned earlier that you invested into.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, because some people want to leave.
Sorry?
Oh, that's just a mistake. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, you can continue your question.
Excellent.
Oh, you're welcome.
Basically, you mentioned earlier that your company or you invest into different sectors in the technology department. Does your company also have a venture capital fund, or is this?
No, we didn't actually. So when we went public, we were completely self-financed. So we managed that because actually we were always selling our products. So this is old economy. So we were putting product in a box on the shelf and getting money out of it. We put a lot of our own money in every time as well. So we started with very little capital. At the beginning, we got financed through banks. So I would just remember, 9 months pregnant, going to the banker, saying the graph's looking this way. And I don't know if he gave me the money because of the graph of the belly, but anyway, I got it anyway. But so good planning and finance through banks, and then after, so overdraft, nothing more. And then the biggest bit was to go public. So today, the 4 founders, we still have 50% of the shares and 50% listed on the ESSEC in Amsterdam. So no venture capital. It's difficult with venture capital. I mentor quite a few young entrepreneurs, and I always tell them, be careful of diluting too quickly. You need to really have a proof of concept. Venture capital have a slightly different interest from you, and they want to exit. There's always that exit strategy, so you need to be careful about that. It's better to have strategic investors, as I say, to really help. But there's plenty of advice out there. It's a very... but you need to have a good plan. You need to be careful. Not dilute too quickly, and be careful with VCs.
Hi. How do you balance raising 2 children and keeping a strong and stable career?
Yeah, so as I said, it's how do I do that? Yeah, I have to be honest, it didn't seem that difficult. I mean, I think, especially for women, you need to look at what makes you tick. If work and you do something you enjoy, whatever that may be, just please don't give up. If when you have your children, you think, you know, that's for me, I want to be home and I want to do whatever, that also don't let anybody judge you. Do what you think is right for you. But if what is right for you is to work, then you organize yourself. I mean, when they were small, I had a crash, and I was using our office was under the Schiphol flight path, so I had a crash the same as the air hostesses from KLM. So they used to go there, and then when I moved to London, they went to a little school. And then as I was getting have a bit more money, I took someone to help me with at least cooking and that sort of stuff. I never had an au pair, so it was between my husband and myself, and then someone will help us during the day. But as soon as that goes home, that person will go. And that's it, yeah, sort of, you know, it's also a little bit, a lot of women have to work. You know, it's a bit of a luxury problem. Huh? Sometimes you say, well, I have the choice of staying at home. My mom didn't have that choice. She had to work, and, you know, I didn't turn out too bad. My 2 kids are also doing okay. They're going to university now, so I got a very good relationship with them. So I think if you look in the world, actually, a lot of women work. So I would not ask myself the problem in those terms, but more, what do I want to do? And then you fit your life around that. Because you get the energy for what you want, and then everything, you'll find a way. If you have not a job you like, something that you enjoy, that will give you energy, your kids will feel that, and it will be fine.
Thank you very much, Corinne. Thank you very much for your speech. She has the first prize of Experience Week. Thank you very much. That was a very great honor for us to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.